our next panel session is on the vision of the UAE for the space industry. And to introduce our panelists, I'd like to welcome up our moderator for the session, Tibalt Verli. He's the Managing Director at BCG Dubai.
Thank you very much. And I would like to invite our panelists to join me for this next session. And we got some very inspiring words from Hazam on the UAE space program. And I'm delighted to be with Adnan Al-Rais, who's leading the Department for Remote Sensing at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, and will share more details on the space program. And then also with Adnan, who I don't really need to introduce anymore, and we'll share some notes at the end of this session. I'll start with a couple of questions, Adnan Al-Rais, on the National UAE Space Program. So it was started in 2017. We've seen some strategic milestone being achieved both on the space and science exploration agenda, but also, and we see less in the news obviously, but on building a very robust and local ecosystem for the space industry. And one very interesting feature of the UAE space program was from inception, the focus on R&D and innovation. Can you tell me, from these 5 years since the launch of the UAE space program, what have been the biggest learning when it comes to R&D, and that will shape the future of the UAE space program?
First of all, right. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. I'm really honored and pleased to be participating today in this session. The story of the UAE space program, National Space Program, started even in 2005, 2006 with the inception and establishment of the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center. In the early days, back in 2006, we didn't have really a national space program. We had missions that were launched as part of the telecom operators that providing services, but we didn't really have a national space program, which we are developing satellites, missions, and having also exploration program. So the whole story started back in 2006 when the center was established, and we worked on our first mission on a very in-depth technology and know-how transfer program to transfer the knowledge and experience to the UAE. So we did our exercise, and we asked ourselves how we're going to do that, whether we're going to go and buy a satellite or are going to make it. So of course we went with the second option, the make option. Because you're going to buy a satellite, this is going to be a black box that at the end of the day you're going to learn how to operate, but not to how to build it. So we took the hard approach, and we looked into the different partners. At the end of the day, we partnered with the Satellite Research Center in South Korea. Back in 2006, we sent a group of our engineers to South Korea, working with our partner there on every single aspect of system design, development, testing, launch, operations of the UAE's first Earth observation satellite called Dubai Sat-1. We sent a group of young Emirati engineers with zero background in space. They just graduated from school. We sent them to South Korea. They spent over 10 years in South Korea learning how to develop satellites. And we were very successful in the first mission. Our contribution was less than 30% in the Dubai Sat-1, which was launched successfully in 2009. After that, we jumped immediately on the second mission, Dubai Sat-2. We continued our technology and know-how transfer program with South Korea. And it was a joint development for the second mission, Dubai Sat-2, which was launched successfully again in 2013. After the Dubai Sat-2, we reached a level that now we can depend on our young engineers to develop full satellite systems here in the UAE in our facilities in Al Khawanij. And that was our third flagship mission, which was the Khalifa Sat mission, which was successfully launched in 2018 and provide the very high resolution imagery that being served here locally and internationally. So this is the learning curve basically. And then we continued even evolving, getting ourselves out of our comfort zone, going into Mars, going to space exploration. So that's a different field. We have all sorts of challenges in terms of developing a system that goes millions of kilometers away and being able to operate, then even beyond that. So the UAE National Space Program, basically, which was formed, basically focuses on five main domains. The satellite development system, which we developed the constellations of satellites. And today we are working our next generation Earth observation satellite that's called MBZ-SAT, which will be launched by end of next year. And it's going to be, again, high resolution imagery, fully developed in-house in our facilities. The second pillar in our national space program, which is basically the UAE Mars mission, the Emirates Mars mission, and the Catalyst project that was launched and currently orbiting Mars and providing the knowledge and information that being available in the public domain. Thirdly, we have the UAE astronaut program, and through the astronaut program here, where we're focusing on the human element. So we've been focusing on the engineering and technology of the satellite development, and this is where we want to develop our knowledge, and very important element in any space exploration, the human element. And through the UAE astronaut program, we launched the first one, the second one, which will be next year, and a very long duration, which is going to be 6 months duration mission. Then fourthly, we have the Mars 2117, our 100 years strategy, building settlement on Mars and sending humans to Mars, and we're going to talk more about that later on. And finally, which is an important element, which is basically establishing that space ecosystem. So the program started with the knowledge being developed in-house by the local Emiratis and supported by the government. Now we need to have the industry, the research institutions, the universities will be supporting the government programs and will be contributing effectively in our programs. So this is basically the learning curve. This is how we want to include innovation. So when we come with the startups and entrepreneurs and industry, here where you're going to introduce even more and more innovation in terms of the way that we develop systems and the way that we operate and make use of the data and information generated from that.
Thank you very much, Adnan. And I think you touched a very important point. Space has always been an engine for innovation. I mean, if you just look at the NASA programs, I think more than 2,000 technology spin-off came from the NASA programs alone, right? How does the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center think about technology spin-off towards the rest of the broader space ecosystem and the innovation ecosystem in the UAE? How do you work? You mentioned academia, but how do you work also with the private sector, the startup, and so on, to stimulate the broader innovation ecosystem in the UAE?
Absolutely. I mean, through the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, we have launched the Space Ventures program. And this is the program that is focused on the establishment of the space ecosystem and supporting the entrepreneurs and startups and even the well-established industry here in the country. We have industry in other fields, in aviations and others, but we want also to tweak those industries to support space as well. So transferring our knowledge and experience to those big players to contribute in our missions. And we're very happy that today our next mission, the Mohammed bin Zayed satellite, we have the mechanical structure fully manufactured here in the UAE. We have Strata, we have also other companies, Falcons and other local Emirati companies that basically contributing in this mission and developing those components here in-house in the UAE by our industry. So this is one way that we basically support the establishment of the space ecosystem with the big players. Then we have the startups and entrepreneurs. We have different mechanisms in order to support them. We have all the hackathons, the acceleration programs, and all of that. And those, when we did our research, we saw that those already exist here in the country. What we did is that we jumped on the existing programs and we added the space element to those programs. So we've partnered with the local accelerators program here and we brought the space companies, and we are very happy that we have a good number of successful stories of local Emirati startups based here in our innovation hub, and that is in partnership with the Dubai Silicon Oasis and DTEC. We have the companies based there, and they are working with us and contributing in our mission. And also, in order to establish that space ecosystem, one thing that we did is that we took one of our labs from the center, we took it out of the center, and we picked a group of our engineers, and we made sure that we have a small number, around 9 or 10 engineers, working on this lab with the industry, so that our lab, it is within that space innovation hub, surrounded by industry, allowing this direct communication between our engineers and the existing industry, and allowing this cooperation with them. And this lab, basically, that is in the Dubai Silicon Oasis, is currently working on our first mission to the surface of the moon, the Rashid rover, which will be launched next year. And on this mission, the small mission, however, we have a lot of contribution from the startups and entrepreneurs. One last thing as well for the establishment of that space ecosystem is that you have to have financial institutions supporting you with doing that. Space is not a real estate. So if you go to a bank asking for financing a real estate project, so they can simply evaluate that and calculate the return on investment and support you with that. But if you go to them and asking them to build a satellite or a deep space mission or anything like that, that is something a bit difficult for them to digest and so on. So this is what we are doing here to support as well the financial institutions, VC funds, to find that robust system that could also support the startup entrepreneurs, because this is an important thing for them. They are not looking for MOUs to be signed. They are looking for actual contracts, right? So that they can survive and then they can flourish and grow. And this is what we are doing here at Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, bringing those startups, entrepreneurs. We have a lot of opportunities and different missions that we are currently working on, from the Earth observation satellite, deep space missions, explorations, and so on, and giving them those contracts in order to be part of our programs and missions.
Thank you very much, Adnan. So we spoke about innovation. We're going to be speaking about the Moon and the Mars program in a minute. Maybe one question on the topic of sustainability. It's also one of the themes of the forum, right? And obviously, sustainability in the space industry is becoming more and more a concern, right? I mean, if we look, based on the plans, we are expecting to see more than 15,000 satellites to be launched by 2030, mainly in LEO orbit. There's also the question about space debris. How does the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center work on this topic of space sustainability and debris management?
Yeah. Thank you very much for bringing up this topic, which is an important topic. As you said, that we have thousands of satellites being launched every year. Access to space becoming much easier nowadays with the different options that we have, and as well as different innovative solutions. For us as Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, we don't encourage limiting innovation in space. We are not like, let's launch less satellites, for example. But we need to be very innovative in applying the solutions and launching and deploying missions. At the same time, ensuring that we have a sustainable industry. So what we did is through Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center and other partners, we have founded the World Space Sustainability Association. So it's the first sustainability association founded here in Dubai, registered at Dubai International Financial Center. It was launched officially during the last World Government Summit a couple of months ago. 2 days ago as well, we had our Leaders Summit, which we have introduced the World Space Sustainability Associations to all potential partners in the association. And this association is open for everyone. We are looking for manufacturers, operators, stakeholders, and users, operators, as well as regulators and other associations concerned with the space sustainability. Space sustainability is a key. Maybe it's not a challenge today, but definitely it will be a big issue tomorrow for the next generation. Through the World Space Sustainability Association, we're looking into those issues, challenges, setting up the priorities, and taking it through different advocacy levels in order to set up the potential implementation plan and guidelines that we hope that will be followed to ensure that we have a sustainable space system.
Thank you very much, Adnan. So now, let's go into the Moon program. So there was this ambition that was said that by 2024, if I'm correct, and please correct me if I don't have the dates right, but to launch a rover to the Moon, but a rover that will be developed here in the UAE. And I think that goes together with the discussion we just had on building a local ecosystem and bringing the innovation and the IP here in the UAE. Can you tell us a bit more about the Moon program?
I want to interrupt you. Almost 15 minutes I'm sitting here. At least you can give a question a little bit here, right?
Sure. So, sorry, Adnan.
To be a patient, there is a limitation. And I'm sorry if I interrupt you. Today you forgot the main concept that I want to ask and to tell to the audience, that to send someone to the Moon, or we send the Hope telescope to the Mars, it was a vision of our father and our founder, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, God bless his soul. that it was almost 40 or 39 years ago when he make a decision and he make this vision. Then his son make this vision true. UAE today is a country of equality and justice. Today UAE is the country of tolerance. Today UAE is the country of the world record. I'm proud as a Marathi. I'm proud of my country. I want to ask a question to the audience. What is 0 into power of 0? Can anybody ask me? Can anybody answer? 0 into power of 0. I don't know, all of you go to university or no, I'm sorry to say like this. It is 1. 0 into power of 0 is 1. Our leadership and our country, our nation only accept number 1. Thank you so much. Please continue. At least I removed everything.
Thank you very much. So when it comes to the lunar exploration, the Rashid rover, initially the plan was to launch it in 2024. However, the team managed to expedite that development, and today we are quite advanced in the manufacturing phase of the rover, and it will be launched by end of this year. So it's going to be our first robotics mission landing on another celestial body. So with the previous missions that we've launched Earth observation satellites orbiting around Earth. We've launched the Mars mission orbiting around Mars. But this is going to be the first time we are launching a robotics mission landing on another celestial body. There's a lot of robotics capabilities being developed as part of this mission. There's a lot of navigation capabilities, and a lot of science that will be conducted through this mission. We're very happy that this mission, which is a 10 kg mission, however, it has many payloads, a lot of those payloads coming as well from international partners. So this is as well a mean for international collaboration, because as UAE, we work collaboratively with everyone. So through this mission, we have hosting payload from France, we have scientists and researchers from MIT, from the European Space Agency, and from different parts of the world that being part of this mission. The UAE is leading that development, is operating it, as leading all the aspects of this mission, and hosting some science and experiments from this on this mission. One interesting experiment that we are doing on this mission is that we are taking different materials from Earth to the surface of the moon, and putting those materials between the grousers of the 4 wheels that we have on the rover, and seeing the interaction between the material and the lunar regolith. And this is an important experiment, and using, of course, the microscopic telescopes and different imaging instruments that we have to see the interaction between the material and the lunar regolith. And this is an important experiment that will help us to better understand what type of materials to use in future missions to the surface of the moon as part of that lunar gateway. So we are holding those materials, and we have scientists, suggesting those materials, and we're taking them to the surface of the moon. And there are many other experiments that we're doing here. And why we're going to the moon? Well, and this is linked to our 100 years strategy, the Mars 2117, to send humans to the surface of Mars and building settlement there. Moon is basically the gateway to Mars. Yeah. This is basically the road plan set by international space agencies. And the UAE is part of that. That is called the Global Exploration Roadmap. So going to the moon, building the gateway that will be hopefully operational, and sending to the first, sending back human to the surface of the moon. This is part of the plan. And then sending in the future missions, manned to the surface of Mars. So we are aligning our strategy along with the Global Exploration Roadmap. We are not inventing new strategy. The strategy exists. We are contributing into certain gaps in those strategies. When it comes to the robotics capabilities, navigation, service mobilities, and so on and so on. So we looked into those gaps, and we linked those gaps with our own interests and national agenda, and accordingly developed this mission, which we are targeting those technologies that will help humanity in implementing the Global Exploration Roadmap.
Thank you. And you spoke about Mars, and Adnan, when we speak about vision, I think the Mars Colony program is one-of-a-kind vision, right? When you set a 100-year timeline to have a Mars colony, I think that shows the ambition that the UAE has with its space programs. Now, can you both tell me a bit more about the UAE Mars program? What are some of the key developments that have happened and what to expect in the coming years?
I believe that we have a strong vision to be the first country to create the first colony in the Mars. And it will happen soon. Imagine we are a country of 50 years from sand to a strong civilization. This is our leadership that they create. Today, when I see in the world a lot of countries that they are older than us, but economy, public, they are suffering. But our country did a great job. Not for us only, not for Emiratis, for 110 nationalities that they are living in United Arab Emirates. Because UAE is a country of tolerance, UAE is the country of opportunities. Thank you.
If you allow me to add when it comes to the Mars 2117 100 years strategy, some people will think about it as like a fantasy. This is something that might most probably won't happen. We are looking at it in different angles. It is 100 years strategy, which means that we have, as a UAE, we have a vision and a clear path that for the next 100 years, we're going to continue investing in science, technology, and space, which means that we're going to continue investing in our youth, continue investing in our international collaboration because it's a collaborative effort. It's not a single nation can do it. You have to do it collaboratively. So this is an important message. Second thing is that if you break it down, you look into the challenges that you're going to face in sending human to Mars. One, you have the food, water, energy security. Those are the challenges that we're going to face on the surface of Mars. But those challenges, we are facing it here today on Earth, in our region, in our country. So if you solve an issue on Mars, you can use that technology and solve it here. One technology we are looking into it, for example, the CO2 conversion. CO2 capturing is a technology that exists and used in certain industries, but converting that CO2 into other formats, this is a challenge. So converting it into glucose that goes into the food nutrition for the astronaut and human on the surface of Mars, converting it into polymer, where you can build the structures on the surface of Mars. So if you solve those challenges for Mars, you're going to solve it here on Earth. So this is one thing. And through the Mars 2117, we have introduced as well the UAE analog program, in which today we have an Emirati crew member participating along with another crew members coming from NASA and from Russia and from different parts of the world in 8 months of total isolation and confinement in the facilities here on Earth, simulating a mission to the moon, from the launch, from orbiting, going to the surface of the moon, and all of that. And all of that is simulation here on Earth. And they're living in total isolation and confinement, no direct interaction with anyone, as if they're simulating a mission, a deep space mission. And this program is very important to introduce the human research program. Again, we focus on engineering, we focus on the robotics, we need to focus on the human element. Yeah. And through the analog program, we are the first one, and we're going to have the follow-on missions as well, where we're developing the human research program, and which we are including also other disciplines of science. You have basically the medicine sector that they can help, contribute, and the health institution can be part of this, as well as because we are looking into physical aspects, into the psychological aspects, and all of that. For human, in order to be able to sustain in a long journey to Mars, we're talking about 9 months duration. And today, if you're going to send someone and return it back, you're going to need 2 years. So living in a space and vacuum, you have to be mentally ready for that. Mentally as a human, but also you need to have all the life support system, all the technologies to support you in being able to survive in doing that. So this is another area being introduced as part of our Mars 2117 strategy. And I can give you many other examples of other disciplines and areas and opportunities that we are introducing within the Mars 2117. So the Mars 2117 is something that we don't want to see the fruit of this investment after 100 years. We want to see the fruit of this investment today on Earth in our country with our youth people.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You mentioned words, both of you mentioned something I think is very important in the space industry, international collaboration, right? So my last question to you will be, how do you think about international collaboration within the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center, but also within the UAE? We know, as you mentioned, space is getting democratized. More countries have access to space. I think the number of space agencies has doubled over the past 20 years, right? So more and more countries are part of this agenda. How do you think about collaborating and bringing all of this together for the best of innovation?
So international collaboration has been always an integral part in all of our programs and all of our activities since day one. So when we started our program back in 2006, we did our technology know-how transfer program with South Korea. We launched our satellite with our colleagues in Russia with the Roscosmos. We launched our first Emirati astronauts as well to International Space Station, which we work collaboratively with the United States, with Russia, with Europe, with Japan, and with everyone. We launched our Mars mission, and we had an in-depth collaboration with the three main universities in the United States, University of Colorado Boulder, Arizona State University, and UC Berkeley, and also with the international science community. We developed a mission together with the University of Toronto, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah. We have many examples. As a UAE, we are open country, and we are working with everyone. And this is something as well integrated in our space program since day one, and we're going to continue doing that through the different programs and different missions and different opportunities. And we are very active at the international level when it comes to the implementation of Global Exploration Roadmap, heavily investing our time and resources in developing missions in order to implement and support the Global Exploration Roadmap implementation. So international collaboration has been and continue being an integral part in all of our programs and all of our activities. And in fact, this opened a door for a lot of our international collaboration. Today, we have very strong collaborations with all major space agencies, but also with industries, with academia, research institutions, next generation in space, and so on. And through this international collaboration, also we managed to bring a lot of big major events to the country. Last year, in October, we had the International Astronomical Congress. We had over 6,500 people coming to the country from different parts of the world, being here in face-to-face event. And this is one thing that we emphasized as well. When we organized this event, we said that there's no hybrid, there's no remote access. It's going to be face-to-face event. Whether we're going to get 100 people or 1,000 people, it's going to be 100% face-to-face event, and we were very happy with the result of that. This shows also the trust of the international community in the UAE, as well as a country, as a place that is very safe, and also the right platform to work internationally, collaborate internationally.
I was there, and it was a truly inspiring Congress. I completely agree with you, bringing all the space community together again. And then any closing words on the topic of collaboration on the space industry?
Yes. I want a little bit to speak about the space and who we are as a human. Imagine each of you in the space. Nobody is near to you. At that moment, you will think about who you make sad, who is offended from you, who you miss. I want each of you now, for 1 minute, to take your phone and remember who you will contact and who will say hi. This person can be your mother, can be your brother, can be your wife, your girlfriend, can be anyone that is offended. I need just 1 minute from your times to see each of you catching the phone and chatting or sending message to someone that you need to have peace with it. If you don't mind, please, all of you can take the phone, please. Yes, let's try it. To try is nothing, is free of cost. Let's try. Yes. Let's see. Could be your mother. The mothers, they are angels. Let's see. Yes. Yes. Okay? There was a wise man, a young man come to him. He told to the wise man, where I can add the value and opportunity and success. And the wise man told to this young person, when you will be normal human being, there you can find lot of opportunity, less competition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.